very briefly, first of all, to offer the Green support for the two amendments in the name of the Noble Lady Baroness Boycott. And I think just one point to add with our discussion of biomass. The Noble Lady Baroness Young has already referred to the issues about using land that might be used for food production, using that to produce biomass for energy. There's also the point that even where you are talking about waste biomass, we talk about this as waste, but one of the things we desperately need to do is store more carbon in our soil, and that's another alternative use of things that are being described as waste. It perhaps may not surprise your Lordship's House that I want to speak against both the carbon capture and storage and the nuclear amendments in this group. I will be very brief, but I want to add a couple of factual things to this. And responding to the question from the Noble Lord Howell of Guildford about why would anyone be against CCS, well, I'd point to SaskPower's Boundary Dam 3 in Canada, which is after 9 years and $1 billion, now has a capture rate for carbon dioxide of 57%, even though it was built with a promise of 90% capture. So that's what's happened in a number of projects around the world where they simply have failed to match up to delivery. And I compliment the Noble Lady Baroness Liddell for acknowledging the report from the Public Accounts Committee. Now, this is a group with no particular horse in this race that's looked objectively at the government's plans and expressed great concern about the risk. And one of the things that the Public Accounts Committee very rightly points out to the fact is that scientific evidence recently is showing producing liquid fossil gas, which is planned to be used to run several CCUS projects, actually leads to the release of more greenhouse gas into the atmosphere than had been thought. So these are less quote-unquote green than has been claimed. And I think the Noble Lady Baroness Liddell said, well, we don't want to increase consumer bills. Well, the Public Accounts Committee says that notes that three-quarters of the almost £22 billion is envisaged to come from levies on consumers. That's where the funding is expected to come from. And just very briefly on the nuclear points, I note that, of course, we're now up to £130 billion for clearing up the old nuclear. We've got a situation where Hinkley Point C is running behind time, well over budget, and there's great concerns about the £40 billion Sizewell C plans. And I know, I'm sure Noble Lords will want to come back with small nuclear reactors, small modular reactors as a response to this. Well, I just note that the government on the 6th of February put out a press release. Government rips up rules to fire up nuclear power. Rather Trumpian sounding, isn't that? I think you'd have to say. But I think Noble Lords might want to consider, do you actually want a small modular reactor on your doorstep? In your backyard? Oh well, I ran that test at Eton College, and I didn't get many yeses from there.